bigcal and welcome to my world. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Sega Dreamcast. Well, as you can see, it's a games console. Press this button and that loads up there, and you put discs in and close it, power button, turn it on. It's got 4 controller ports. I believe it was the first console to come with a modem built in for online gaming. And it has a controller. Yay! And it's god awful. It is legitimately the worst controller I've ever personally used. Now, there are some terrible controllers out there that I have not used, so I can't really say anything about them. But for the most part, let's just say Nintendo consoles, Sony consoles, Microsoft consoles, all of their official controllers I've used and tried out at some point in time. This is awful. Firstly, the wire is at the bottom, which is retarded. Secondly, it just doesn't feel very good in the hands. The triggers are okay, but I don't really like anything else about it. The analog stick is terrible. It just so slippy and not very nice. The buttons don't really feel too great. The D-pad is one of the worst I've ever seen. Horrible. And the start button's just a random button. And then you also notice there's a screen here, yay, which goes with the VMU, the visual memory unit. So you save data, and then there's also a screen, and it does stuff. No idea. The only thing that I've ever seen it do with any of the games that I own is pretty much display the name of the game on the screen while you're playing the game. Yeah, that's fucking helpful. Yeah, so you save stuff on there. You can also have a second one in. I think this is just a basic third-party memory pack. Yeah, whatever. That's the controller. It's shite. But how about the games? Are the games any good? No, not really. Firstly, Sonic Adventure. It's 3D Sonic. Whoop-de-bloody-doo. Now, it's in a small, thin jewel case as opposed to these big, hefty buggers that we tend to get here in Europe for the Dreamcast and the PS1. So I just assumed that this was probably an American version of the game, because you all have the jewel cases, which are smaller and thinner and much easier to store. But no, turns out that this is in fact a fake, bootleg copy. So, useless. Not that I care, because the game's pretty shit. So, as I have Grand Theft Auto 2, which is actually a great game, one of my favourite games, but if I'm going to play Grand Theft Auto 2, I'm sure as fuck not going to drag out the Dreamcast and hook it all up just to play this game, because it's on the PS1. The PS1's awesome. I'd just rather play the PS1. Because then I have the backwards library, sorry, not the backwards, just the library of the PlayStation 1, or I'll hook up the PlayStation 2, play the PlayStation 1 version of Grand Theft Auto 2 as well, have the previous PlayStation 1 library to play, and the PlayStation 2 library. Whereas the Dreamcast just plays Dreamcast games, and yeah, they're not very good. Oh, and also, for some reason, I got this with the Dreamcast that I bought, the game bundled inside with Grand Theft Auto 2, Metropolis Street Racer, which is an extraordinarily dull and shitty arcade-style racing game. Speaking of racing games, V-Rally 2 Expert Edition. Doesn't work, so maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. My money's on bad. Chu-chu Rocket, fun-ish puzzle game. You have fun for about the first 5 minutes and then you get utterly bored and never play the thing again. However, the best thing about me owning this is that it came with Dream On Volume 1, the first demo disc that originally came with the Dreamcast. And this is the best thing that I have for the Dreamcast, because it has a playable demo of, was it Toy Commander, which is actually one of the few fun-looking games for the Dreamcast that I actually want to pick up. Then, of course, those were all the games that I got bundled with the Dreamcast when I bought it a couple of years ago. So these two here are ones that I've bought since. Royal Rumble, WWF of course, for my wrestling collection, had to buy it. I'd heard a lot of good things about this game. I mean, graphically it looks great, especially at the time when this came out, because, you know, we were on PS1 and N64 graphics at the time, so this looked great. Also, you can have up to 9 people in the ring at the same time, a feat which has yet to be emulated by any WWF WWE game since. However, the gameplay is awful. It is legitimately one of the worst wrestling games I've ever played in my life. It is terrible. And there are less than 30 people to play as in the game. The game is called WWF Royal Rumble. Would you like to know what the Royal Rumble is? It's a match that happens once a year at the pay-per-view event in January called Royal Rumble. What's the Royal Rumble match exactly? 30 people compete in an over-the-top rope battle royal, essentially. There are less than 30 people in the game. A game called Royal Rumble. In order to have a Royal Rumble match in the game Royal Rumble, you have to have superstars repeat their entrances in the match. A guy gets thrown out a bit later and he has to come back in to fill up the fucking numbers. Oh, but you can have 9 people in the ring, yay! And finally, the newest game I bought a year ago. If I'm not mistaken, this was actually in the first video games pickup video I did. Yeah, I bought it brand new. It is Cow the Kangaroo, not KO the Kangaroo, which to me would have made fucking sense because it's a kangaroo with boxing gloves. It punches people, it knocks them out, hence KO. But no, it's called Cow. Cow the Kangaroo. It's not a cow, it's a fucking kangaroo. But anyway, it's a 3D platformer. I love 3D platformers. I had to pick it up for my collection. It's not very good, really. It's not awful, but it's incredibly mediocre. There's also a sequel on the PS2, the Xbox and the GameCube, I believe, and then also a PSP version, which is an entirely different game as well, which I also owned. And then we have it, the Sega Dreamcast. I have no fond memories of this thing. I didn't have it when it came out, I didn't want it when it came out. I own one now, and I don't give a shit. All my other consoles are set up in a way that if I want to play them, they're right there. I can take out the console, hook up the wires, easy as fuck. All my games are there, easily accessible, and I can start playing within minutes. The Dreamcast is stuck in a box under my bed, and I forget it even exists. I don't own any particular good games for it. Like I said, the best one is Grand Theft Auto 2, but I'd sooner play the PlayStation 1 version. Not to say there aren't any good games in the system, I just haven't played any on it yet. Shenmue 1 and 2, of course, the big high profile games in the system, which I would like to try out on the Dreamcast, but prices are kind of high, and with Shenmue 3 being announced, no doubt in my mind the prices now of Shenmue 1 and 2 are going to skyrocket, just as Dreamcast sales have skyrocketed since that announcement, which means that the Dreamcast console itself is probably going to go up in price. There's 1 or 2 other games that I wouldn't mind owning, 3D platformers for the console, but aside from that, it's a Dreamcast. When I hear people call it the best console ever, it legitimately makes me wonder if they have mental issues, because there is nothing remotely fantastic about this. It is below mediocre. It's not a good console. There's a reason it didn't sell too well. There's a reason that because of this, Sega no longer make consoles. Because this is not a good console. It didn't have a good library, unless all you like playing is arcade ports, which is essentially what this thing is. It's a home arcade system. Arcade style shooters, arcade style fighters, arcade style racers, we're all on here. If you like that, then yeah, I suppose you probably are going to like the Dreamcast. I don't give a shit about those games for the most part, therefore I do not like the Dreamcast. And its controller sucks. So I'm bigcal, thanks for watching, I'll see you again next time.